Hi, welcome if you're new here, or welcome back to my channel if you've been around for a while. So I'm sharing my journey of how I conquered breast cancer with God by my side. Because it's the month of October and I'm a breast cancer survivor, I thought let me share my journey. This is not only about breast cancer, but about any challenge that you might come across and it feels like it's too much for you. So in my last video, I mentioned that I arrived at the specialist office and he did his examination, and I could see in his face that he already knew what it was, and he explained to me because of the size of the tumor or the lump, they will have to the best option for them will be to remove the whole tissue out of my breast, or they call it a mastectomy, and then replace it with a reconstruction. And I said to him that I'm okay with it and I'm not, even going to think about it, because he gave me an option to go and think about it. But anyway, as I mentioned, he was convinced because of the size, which was 4 centimeters. And I asked him to explain to me what does 4 centimeters mean. And I actually have the paper. I I tore it by accident. It's here. So he mentioned that there is a stage 0, like when it's just discovered a tumor or something growing, then that is stage 0. So when it's between 1 and 2 centimeters, it's stage 1. And then when it's between 2 and 5 centimeters, um, 2 and 5 centimeters, it's stage 2. It just made a general, explanation, because I was also new at breast cancer. I had no idea what was happening. And then if it's bigger than 5, then it can go to stage 3 or 4. Um, I'm no expert. I'm just giving you what I understood at the time. And so, because of the size of the tumor, the doctor already he assumed that it might be stage 2 or stage 3. And immediately he contacted the oncologist and he asked her if he can make an appointment for me so that she can explain everything to me. And I was so lucky, as I mentioned in my previous videos. Everything happened so quick. It was like, I know that God was in this whole thing, and that I had to go through this to make me a stronger person, and also, to share my journey with somebody who's feeling hopeless in whatever situation they find themselves in. So the oncologist told the doctor that no, I am available immediately. She can come and see me now. So as I left the doctor's office, by then he did not get my biopsy results yet. He only explained to me what he knew based on his speciality and what he knew about breast cancer. So now I was on my way to the oncologist. When I arrived there, she did the same. She first explained to me and she asked me whether I understand what I was going through and whatever. And by then I was still a bit really confused. But she tried to, to make me feel at ease. And she did her examination, and I could also see that she agreed with what the surgeon told her. Like it's 4 centimeters, and she had to. It was sort of like a counseling when I came out of the examination room. She explained to me the chemo part and the radiation, and it might even go to hormone therapy and all of that. And she said that not everyone is acting the same to chemo or the radiation. It depends on how aggressive they have to act in order to shrink the lump. And she also said to me that because of the size of the lump, they will need to first do, I think she said chemo, in order to shrink the lump before they do the procedure. And I was like, okay, it's fine. I was actually prepared for whatever, even though I had no idea what was going to happen next. But after she explained everything, she just said, you can sit in the waiting rooms until I wait for the biopsy results, because I want to see what it's saying. And as I was sitting with my husband in the waiting room, I could hear her say, no, this can't be. And she said, no, I heard her say, no, let me call this. She called another doctor and she explained to him the size of my lump, and But it was a vague conversation. I couldn't hear everything, but I could hear that she was not convinced with the results of the biopsy. And she said, no, we're going to have to do a second opinion. And I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder what is happening there. But as I said, I was so calm. I was so at peace because I knew that everything is in God's hands anyway. So she called me back in. She said to me, who did your biopsy? And I explained to her, and she said, no, I'm not really comfortable with the results I got back because the size of the lump is really big. And the results of the biopsy doesn't seem accurate. But she said to me, okay, but just wait for at least 1 week because we are board of doctors that's going to discuss this case first. But there might be a possibility that you have to go for a second opinion for another biopsy. And I was like, no, it's fine. I am okay with it. And the week went by. The next week she called me and she said, I'm going to refer you to another radiologist, somebody that I knew closely, and she will then do a second biopsy so that we can see what the results is after it. I was like, okay, and she gave me the day. I think it was immediately the next day after she called me. Okay, when I arrived there, guys, if you ever went under a biopsy, yeah, that is really not a nice thing to undergo. And this one was a bit more intense than the previous one because she did more. She had to put in the needle more than, I think it was about 5 times. And in the lymph nodes, she had to put it about 3 times. So in total, the needle went into my body for about 8 times. And it was really hectic for me. I was like, oh my, there was a time when she put in the needle into my lymph node and it was like it didn't want to play along and I had to literally calm my body down and I could feel it was literally like I'm talking to my body and say, listen, now you have to cooperate because I have had it with this needle going in and out of my body. And immediately it's almost like my body listened to me. I don't want to lie to you. Immediately she could get out the whatever, I don't know, the substance that they have to withdraw in order to do the tests. And I left the rooms, the radiologist rooms. And guys, the next week, the oncologist didn't call me back. The surgeon called me back and he confirmed that they are gonna do, they're only gonna remove or do the mastectomy. I didn't until today see the oncologist. This is 1 year later. It's about less than 1 year because it was sometime in November. But I never saw the oncologist again. Why? Because I trusted God that this is not going to take over my life. I am not cancer. I'm bigger than cancer. I decided that greater is he that's what in me than he that is in the world. Surgeon called me back and he said to me, I don't understand what is happening here. The size of the lump is really big, as I explained to you before. 4 centimeters is supposed to be, according to science, it's supposed to be between stage 2 or 3 cancer. And you are at stage 0. It's like the lump is still in, I think I'm going to put a picture here so that you can see. So the lump is still, it's like tubes that's going to the nipple. So the lump is still within that. It never came out. It didn't spread, like the cancer didn't spread yet. They call it a ductal serenoma inside you. I think I said it right. I don't know, is it a ductal caramona inside you or a ductal? I will also put the name here on the screen. So he said that is what it's called. It's because it's still inside the tube. It never like came out or spread or I don't know, guys. Please, I'm not a scientist or a specialist or whatever, but I still can't explain it. And when I asked him now, how is it possible? He said to me, I don't know how it's possible. So less than 1 year later, guys, I've worked so much on my mind as well this year, and now I understand how powerful our minds are. So I just want to encourage someone today that, listen, whatever you believe, you ask in prayer, you believe that you already received it, then it will be yours. And healing was my portion. I decreed and declared that every morning and every evening